Welcome. In this class, we will talk about some of the major developments that have been discussed in Down to Earth. Now, first is the paddy variation and the conservation of the various varieties of the paddy, and this has been mainly the native varieties and how they have been done in the regions of Karnataka by a local couple has been an important study. So, this can go as case study. The harvesting process where the seeds are first sun dried and then planted into soil without any pesticides or fertilizers. So, kind of organic, and then we have various efforts that they have taken which needs to be actually earmarked. The next is WHO has acknowledged that loneliness is one of the most important health crises which would impact nearly 1/4 of the world's population in the coming days, and this has been further aggravated because of COVID influence. Now, if we talk about the various countries where loneliness prevalence has been very high, it's mainly for the adolescents where we see 77% of the data that has countries which have been affected. For young adults, nearly 30 countries have a very high prevalence. For middle age group, 32 nations, and for older age group, 40 countries have been worst affected by it. But if we talk about India, adolescents are worst affected in the countries like India, young adults again in India, and middle age group. So this is one of the important thing that we require, which is behavioral change. So for behavioral change, if the loneliness is reduced, it can reduce the premature death by 26%, heart diseases by 32%, coronary diseases by 29%, the COPD by 26%, diabetes by 98%, and cancer by 10%. Even the idea of anxiety, depression, dementia, and suicidal thoughts can be significantly reduced if loneliness is curbed. Now, what are the plans for various nations? If we talk about UK, there is a concept known as Happy Cab, where with the cab ride you get an idea about other passengers and you try to have social interaction with that. Japan has passed a legislation where various individuals actually who experience loneliness have been brought under councils where their assistance has been given for social development and growth for them. In India, the National Mental Health Survey, which was conducted in 2015-16, talked about this concern for the first time, and this had been seen widespread, specifically among the older women. It is more popular as compared to older men. There have been various studies talking about the risk factors associated to it. The next is this year's first cyclone has been witnessed in the regions of Madagascar, and this is known as El Varo, which originates near the Mozambique Channel, has nearly formation of 3 to 12 tropical cyclones every year. They intensify into severe cyclones and severe storms. The next is polar death. In Alaska, the first death of a polar bear has been found due to HPAI, which is highly pathogenic avian influenza in the Arctic region, and this was found in the bear in the regions where there has been an outbreak because of the infection being spread through the carcass of an infected bird. Now, due to cold conditions, these viruses have an ability to remain alive for a prolonged duration. The next is nanourea and its implementation in India. Though we had said that nanourea can replace 45 kgs of traditional fertilizer with just 500 ml of bottle, there has been the experiments have brought in which have shown that contrary to the claims, there has been 21% decrease in the wheat yield and 13% decrease in the rice yields if you are using nanourea. Then there is a new antibiotic which has been discovered, zoraspilin, Beplin, and this actually has an ability to eliminate bacteria which have resistance to most other drugs. Now, this has been found effective under carp, which is a pathogen of priority 1 under the WHO list of threat. This is a gram-negative bacteria and is related to various infections in the healthcare systems. Now, disruptions under this has been really important. Then GI tag. Germany has the highest number of GI tags in the world, followed by China. Germany has somewhere around 15,000, China with 7,000, India with merely 400. So we do have a lot of skill, lot of material, lot of resources, but tech savviness is not there to have those under the prime indicators or the GI indicators. Trade reforms and legal protections are required to actually have more GI registrations from India, and with more GI registrations we can have more inflow of foreign capital and also higher biotourism into India. There are with European Union, GI are classified under two indicators: protected GI or protected designation of origin. In India, however, we have only protected geographical indication as one of the important aspects. In India, as we saw, the number is very low, with Germany at 15,000, India is just at 390. Most of the GI tags worldwide are either in wine, then in agriculture, and finally a very small number in handicrafts. India can form a major part here. Then we have the propellants which have been seen. So as we have seen, the number of paper published on GI in the past 2 years past 2 decades have significantly increased, and to popularize GI, digital literacy, digital awareness is required. With one district, one product, we can actually have more way forward, but there are definite challenges, which is lack of clarity, lack of involvement, and more intermediaries into the process. For fermentation, it's one such example. Potato leftover water along with red mustard and salt, when fermented, gives a very tangy beverage, and this has various growth medium. This plays a vital role in minimizing the food waste in the households, and this is one of the ways through which we can actually have fermentation. There are other fermenting methods for milk, to have various dairy products. There are other traditional methods for having fermentation. For the lactic acid bacteria, red mustard is one such example which we have discussed. Fermented foods include sauerkraut, which is made from cabbage and consumed in Eastern and Central Europe. Kimchi is a Korean vegetable dish which is again prepared by fermentation. In India, idli and dosa are prepared by fermentation. Then we have underrated foods. Now, International Scientific Association of Probiotics and Prebiotics focuses on fermented food as products resulting from microbial growth and enzymatic conversions of food components, and this focuses on homemade fermented food, where we can have fermentation which is controlled, or even we can have specific growths which are required. For example, North India, we have kanji, which is black carrot during the winter months, and this is a way of fermenting. Health benefits have been related to fermentation have been very important, because this kimchi is considered as anti-obesity, anti-diabetic. Also, fermented foods have a possibility for reducing the inflammatory bowel movements, and they lower the cholesterol and have anti-cancer properties. So fermentation definitely has good microbial flora for us and is really important. Then is advance warning. Under the GDP analysis, the agricultural sector has seen a modest growth recently, but there has been a downturn which has been seen in the past year. The agricultural growth has declined, and this needs to be a concerning figure, because we have adverse weather climatic phenomena that have been brought. There has been fight for land, which has again been seen. The various aspects of NSO and the expenditures, the public expenditure has been discussed. But when we talk about the fight for land, it is mainly the Uttarakhand population which has increased significantly. And then there is a Samanvay Sangharsh committee which has been major protesters in 2000, talking about the government's ease regulations for external investments in the regions of Uttarakhand. An interim ban has been brought onto it, but still there have been extensive land which has been brought under cultivation, which has been brought under construction or industries. And then the purchase of agricultural land limit, which was limited, has been revised. So we need to understand that this is again a major threat. Then is silent famine. Now, ICAR has been talking about the nutritional deficiency in the various grains. We have seen that by 2040, the nutritionally depleted staple crops would be seen. So far, there has been rise in the amount of arsenic in rice, and because of these unwanted elements which are increasing in the staple crops, the wanted elements, for example, zinc for immunity, iron for hemoglobin, potassium, phosphorus, their content has been depleting. Now, we have the Krishi Vishwavidyalaya in Bengal and National Institution for Nutrition in Telangana, which has been working on the various high yielding varieties, and these varieties are known as cultivars. Cultivars are basically varieties which have been selected to have specific characteristics and better growth, and the concentration of the nutrient has been depleting significantly in the various aspects in the recent years, right? So we need to focus on that the content which is really beneficial is maintained, and the only unwanted unwanted content, which is for example arsenic, etc., is deteriorated. So if we see in the rice as well as wheat, the green shows the rice, the blue shows the wheat, we have seen a significant depletion in iron, zinc, copper and calcium. But at the same time, if we talk about accumulation of arsenic, aluminium, barium and strontium, that have been significantly increasing, specifically for arsenic in the rice. This has been a very high increase, which is again one of the major causes for cancer in India. Then the mineral diet quality depletion for rice, it has deteriorated significantly, and then there has been again a deterioration for wheat as well. So those are two another important aspects. So we do have a constructive effect, but those constructive effects overweigh the adverse effects in the case of rice. However, in wheat it is not that the case as of now, but still we need to keep an eye on to how this could be actually checked. With this staple crops being affected, the amount of malnutrition, micronutritional deficiency burden has been increasing in India. The next is Okhu, a very interesting place in Pulwama district in Jammu Kashmir, which is known as the pencil village, known for producing pencils through the poplar plants, and the workers employed for that have been significantly reducing from 150 workers to only 40-50 workers now. The slat production has been decreasing, which is the rectangular wood pieces for most of the India's pencils, which have been created here. Now poplar has been initiated under social forestry program in this region, and 1/3 of the population of the poplar lies in this area of Okhu. The next is the understanding that these poplars, which are converted into slats, undergo the process under moisture absorbing machine, and then are sun dried and finally packed and dispatched to the various parts of the India. The next is self pollination. Now this is a phenomena known as selfing syndrome. So transformation of a cross pollinating plant into a self pollinating, and that is due to reduced interactions with the pollinators. Now this produces a new generation of pensy flowers, which has nearly 10% reduced size, 20% less nectar, and has fewer pollinators as compared to their ancestors. So this is a deterioration which has been seen in the system. The advances in the crops have been made, but they have been affecting the presence of pollinators, specifically in coffee, cocoa, watermelon and mango species. The next is the fertilizers and fecal sludge. Under the Swachh Bharat mission, we have been working extensively to undertake efforts to decontaminate and bring in sludge cleaning mechanisms. Biosolids are one such example. So there have been two cases with okra plant, one on an experimental group and one on a control group, and we have seen that experimental group resulted into better production and better growth, and that was because of the biosolids. Then we have various policies for security and upfront payment required for winning the mineral extraction rights, and those have been taken under the Carbon Credit Trading Scheme 2023, which has been introduced by Center as well as the Bureau for Energy Efficiency. Some other important issues involve the various acreage of the cultivation area of the rabi crops has been less than the usual. In Raulkela, we have seen a cholera outbreak in Odisha. Then there has been the death of the recent cheetahs being brought to the Kunu National Park. The pond in Darbhanga has been called as stolen because it is now filled with sand, and the water is no more in the region. Earthquake affected the recent areas of Japan and left many homes without electricity. There have been regular challenges for climate change laws that have been brought, and the province of Saskatchewan in Canada has ceased the collection of federal carbon tax. So those are some of the important aspects that we have discussed in this edition. In case you have any questions or queries, feel free to connect back or post those in the comment section. Also, the handouts for Down to Earth are available on the Examrace current affairs section. So feel free to connect back, and thanks for joining in today.